Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Trafford series. Trafford is one of the 10 districts of Greater Manchester and it only has 4 parishes. Let's dive in and see which one we're in today. Welcome back to Trafford, everybody, for round 2 here in Greater Manchester. Now, I've brought you away from Carrington this week to a place that's full of schools. It seems to have loads and loads of schools, this place, quite a few. It's a big village, this one, and it also has the most deprived area anywhere in Manchester, apparently. A little bit surprising when you consider it actually is a nice looking village from the drive-in I've just done. Welcome to Partington. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Partington, people of Pearta's farmstead. Hello again, folks. Here comes round 2 in Trafford, and this week we're in the biggest of the 4 parishes in the district. Lying on the southern bank of the Manchester Ship Canal and south of the River Mersey is a village where more than 7,000 Mancunians reside, and its name is Partington. Once within the boundaries of the historic county of Cheshire, this was in the 13th century surrounded on all sides by boggy wetlands. It was a hamlet consisting of dispersed farmsteads with no nucleated centre. That all began to change in the mid-18th century when, in 1755, Trafford's first factory was built on the banks of the Mersey. However, when the Manchester Ship Canal was completed in 1894, the place was transformed from modestly industrial into a thriving metropolis. It became a major inland port which handled primarily coal. It was the nearest port to the Lancashire coalfields, and its existence brought the South Yorkshire coalfields 30 miles closer to the sea. The coal trade in turn resulted in Partington then becoming a major railway depot, attracting other industries like the Partington Steel Iron Company in the process. It looks a bit different now. All that industry and the railway lines have gone. So what's here now, you ask? Come with me and find out. Before we get into the village, we first have to cover the Manchester Ship Canal in a bit more detail. Without this, Partington would not be the place it is today. Flanking Partington to the north, the canal was opened in 1894, the brainchild of a group of Manchester mill owners and businessmen. Manchester was the cotton capital of the world at that time and was dubbed Cottonopolis. Partington, though, would benefit greatly from the canal's ability to handle coal. Where it passed the village, the canal was widened to 250 feet for 3/4 of a mile to allow for the construction of a coaling basin equipped with 4 hydraulic coal hoists. Between 1898 and 1911, coal exports accounted for just over 53% of the total tonnage carried by the canal. The coal trade resulted in Partington becoming a major railway depot, and soon the Partington Steel Iron Company was founded. The works became a part of the Lancashire Steel Corporation in 1930 and dominated the economy of nearby Earlham until they closed in 1976. We start our tour with a drive into Partington from Carrington, and our first landmark is a paper mill. This is operated by Spanish company Syca, who have been here since 2009. The site is an old wharf-side building that was served by the Manchester Ship Canal, which runs behind it to the northwest. This uses water from the canal to recycle paper into packaging, and it's been described in the past as the most advanced, fully integrated facility of its kind in the UK. The plant cost £300 million to build, and production started in January of 2012. A paper mill, though, is not a new addition for Partington. In 1755, the first paper mill was constructed on the banks of the Mersey, and it was also the very first factory of any kind anywhere in Trafford. Things would only get more and more industrial from that point onwards. Factories, wharves and railway lines were all over this place at one time. Time to cross an old railway line now as we head into Partington village. Our main walk begins on Lock Lane, a dead-end road which flanks the side of the Manchester Ship Canal. To get to civilization, we're taking a shortcut through Oak Road Park. There are two major parks in the village. As well as this, there's also the much bigger Cross Lane Park further around the route. This one still has the usual facilities, including a big playground, football pitches, and lots of open green space. It takes its name from Oak Road, that's this street here, part of a big housing estate in the village's southwestern corner. Almost 8,000 people live in this place. A lot of Partington was built directly after World War II, when local authorities made a conscious effort to rehome people away from Victorian inner city slums. Partington effectively became an overspill estate and is now among the most deprived parts of Greater Manchester. It does have its highlights though. Here's one of them. This is an entrance to the Red Brook Nature Reserve. This has a walking trail that runs alongside a gentle, picturesque brook of the same name, which forms the southern parish boundary with Warburton. Partington's residents have often bemoaned the lack of facilities the place has to offer, but it does seem to have more than its fair share of shops. The main shopping centre is right in the middle of the village, but there are local estate shops like these here and there. Not far away is Little Oaks Nursery. Although this is permanently closed, the village still has one elsewhere. Partington's last pub, the Red Brook, once stood next door. It was opened in 1981 by Greenalls to serve this estate. It did very little trade though, and it's now gone. New houses like these were built on its site. Let's talk public transport next. Here's a bus stop on Warburton Lane, which is served by the numbers 247, 280 and the Cheshire Cat 5. On the other side of the road we have the Broad Oak Nature Reserve, which runs along the edge of Partington's most well-known communal building, the Fuse. Built in 2011 and dubbed Britain's biggest youth club, this closed down just 18 months after opening due to funding issues. Thanks to a charity though called ROC, it's now back open. Fun fact, fashion expert Gok Wan recently used its 250 capacity theatre for filming. No pun intended, bang next door to the Fuse is Broad Oak Secondary School. Partington has a lot of schools. Trust me, this is far from the only one here. I quite like the row of trees which line Warburton Lane at this point outside the school. I found this to be a nice area in general, far, far from the deprived settlement I'd read about before coming here. Partington has seen plenty of investment in local facilities in recent times. The Fuse is just one example, but there are lots more. Cross Lane West will take us to another, the Partington Sports Village. Built in 2008 at a cost of £2 million on land directly adjoining Broad Oak School, the Partington Sports Village is operated by Trafford Leisure. It features a world-class 3G outdoor football pitch, chosen as an Olympic 2012 training venue for football. It's currently the training ground for Salford City Football Club. It also has a swimming pool, grass courts and loads of other sports facilities. Over the road, these continue with Partington Bowls Club, which sits at one of the many entrances to Cross Lane Park, Partington's biggest green communal space. Deprivation, not a bit of it. This park features the Partington Youth Centre, which reopened in 2022. It's operated by the Greater Manchester Youth Federation. They also operate the building next door. This is the Manchester 31 Boxing Academy, which takes its name from Partington's postcode. After crossing Moss Lane, we're now on Russell Road, and we're in the southeastern reaches of the village. This leads to Moss View Road, where we'll come across another building related to education, although this one is no longer in use. It's called the Moss View Centre. Before becoming the Moss View Centre, this used to be Moss View Community School, hence the school markings on the road outside. It lies empty and abandoned now since Trafford Council relocated their school meals service, once based in this very building. The service is now based in the Trafford Park Council depot after that was deemed more financially viable. Soon it will be torn down and potentially replaced with brand new homes. Over the road is Moss View Road playing field, which features the Partington Pavilion. We've turned around now and it's back across Moss Lane next as we make for Central Drive and the middle of the village. Once again, we're in another area that was added to the village after the war, but like Oak Road, it doesn't seem to be deprived in any great way. After wandering along this long residential street for a while, passing a lot of cul-de-sacs and side streets, you come to the Partington Parish Council office, easily the most recognisable building on the whole road. Partington has had a parish council since 1894, which became part of Trafford in 1974. Parish council lads can be seen out most mornings clearing rubbish, planting and generally making the place look great. Now, it's important to note that Partington is not a town, despite online references to it as one. I love this mosaic, by the way, on the wall of the office. Directly opposite the office is another school, Partington Central Academy this time. This is the oldest of the 3 primary schools in the village. It used to be called Partington County Primary School, and it's been here since 1958. It became an academy in 2017. Before we reach the village centre, we still have to pass some more amenities on Central Road. This here is Partington Central Surgery. Next door we have the police station, although whether or not this is still operational, I'm not sure. There didn't seem to be much life here. That wasn't the case at the Partington and Carrington Children's Centre though. This has a small soft play and sensory room that can be hired out and used for an hour. Across the road is the Partington Community Cafe, and just behind that is a working men's club. There's plenty here, isn't there? The middle of the village is marked by the Partington Shopping Centre and has been for many decades. However, this central retail area looks a lot different now to how it used to. Basically, it's been given a new lease of life. The old shops, which had been here since the 1960s, were torn down and rebuilt in 2014. The main shop was a co-op sited next to the community cafe, but anchoring this brand new centre are a Tesco Express and a Heron's Frozen Foods. There are 7 other retail units and a 126 space car park right in the middle of it all. Now we're around the side of the centre on Smithy Lane, where we find the local petrol station. There used to be a traditional market square along here. This new village green is where the Christmas tree is sited every year. I like this area. It felt new enough to be fresh, yet still old enough to have a certain charm about it. I couldn't quite put my finger on why, but it might be because the Church of St Mary overlooks this area and thus still appears traditional. Let's head for that now via Manchester New Road and Wint View, these modern flats. St Mary's Church is not the oldest we've ever seen. In fact, it's probably one of the newest. Even so, it's still a Grade 2 listed building. It dates back to 1883 and it's made of rock-faced stone. This is the first time we've ever seen a church built in the North European Gothic style, making this one, so far, unique. A church hall and ancillary rooms, which date from 1975 and 1991 respectively, are attached to the north. This distinctive memorial in the churchyard is to the Ockleston family, who were the last owners of Partington's first paper mill. The house next door is rather unsurprisingly the vicarage. At the time of construction, St Mary's served a population of around 600. Moving away from the church, next we come to a clock. This was added in the year 2000 to celebrate the turn of the new millennium. It's flanked by a couple of planters maintained by the parish council, which had mini Christmas trees in them. Now let's head down the old Manchester Road. In doing so, we pass a local business, Harvey's Supplies, which sells workwear such as high-vis clothing and the like. We've now ambled our way to the village green, one of the oldest areas of Partington. This has a row of shops, but it's the green itself that's most interesting here. It features a set of stocks, a Grade 2 listed structure. Its stone pillars are from the 18th century, although the wooden restraints were replaced in the 20th. Also on the green is the War Memorial, which was originally sited in a memorial garden at the Partington Working Men's Club. This one lists no names, but its job is still the same, to remember all those lost in conflict in the 2 World Wars. Next we head down Bailey Lane, passing an older block of flats as we go called Alexandra Court. At the end of the road you'll notice a listed building on the right hand side. That's Earlham Farmhouse, one of the more expensive properties in the village and one of the oldest, dating back to the late 18th century. Over Warburton Lane next to the Methodist Chapel. 2019 marked the 50th anniversary of this building, but Methodism has been in Partington since the 1800s. Our next landmark is an old school hall over the way via this block of shops, which includes a pharmacy. The old school hall is exactly what it says on the tin. Although there's no school here anymore, this is still used for classes, yoga ones mainly. That's certainly not my kind of thing, but if it's yours, this, it appears, is the place to come. Wood Lane is where we are now, another vastly residential part of the village. Halfway down it, on the right hand side, is Four Oaks Care Home, which provides a luxurious setting for nursing, residential and dementia care. It's the flagship property of Kingsley Healthcare and even includes a cinema room and a showpiece sunroom. After that, it's a simple case of following Wood Lane for a while, which will eventually bring us back to Lock Lane, the road which runs along the southern edge of the Manchester Ship Canal. It's mostly residential from this point onwards, barring a few estate shops and something called Gilmore House, which appears to be a business centre of some kind. Wood Lane actually bends back on itself and forms a massive loop. At one of its corners we hit Birch Road. The chimney you can see in the distance is over the canal at a chemical recycling plant in Cadis Head. 2 of our last 3 landmarks are schools. First is Our Lady of Lourdes Roman Catholic Primary School. Its associated church was not on this route. It can be found on Chapel Lane. So too can the People's Church, affiliated to the North West Baptist Association. The other school is Forest Gate Academy, and between the two is what appears to be an old utility building of some kind. Forest Gate's entrance is on Daniel Adamson Avenue, which is named after a boilermaker from Durham, the man behind the idea of the Manchester Ship Canal. Well, even if you can't see Forest Gate Academy, you can certainly hear it. It's that time of day when the kids are out in the playground. Trust me, it's behind that hedge and those trees somewhere. Lots of schools here in Partington. Right, I've got one more thing I would like to talk about in this episode. You might remember right at the very beginning of this video, I mentioned about an old railway line. Well, there is an old viaduct that went with that railway line that crosses the Manchester Ship Canal, and that is today's special section. Once upon a long time ago, Partington had a railway line. It was known as the Glazebrook to Stockport Tiviot Dale line, and it had a station on it in use between 1873 and 1964. The line crossed the Manchester Ship Canal via this, the Cadis Head Viaduct, which is one of the only remaining clues to its existence. Cadis Head is on the other side of the canal. It was built in 1892 by the Cheshire Lines Committee. The central span is 40 yards long and the clearance is 75 feet. It's what's known in architectural circles as a multi-lattice girder viaduct. It's been several decades since this carried a train. After becoming goods only for a while, the line across it was lifted in the 1980s, and now Cadis Head is blocked off to stop people walking across it. This was done because the deck of the viaduct is in a very bad state thanks to major corrosion of its steel. In spite of that, the Hamilton Davis Trust have proposed to restore it in order to operate a future heritage railway line across it in time. In summary, it's often said that Partington is one of the most left behind communities in the UK. whilst that might have been true years ago, after walking around, I think that's no longer the case. It's a thriving village, and I, for one, think the deprived tag no longer applies. Let's go and find the next one. I'll see you in 7 days. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.